When you're just starting out on guitar, it can be really confusing what all the different bits on this thing are and what they're called and what they do. Luckily, you don't actually need to know any of that in order to learn how to play. However, if you want to get a little bit more familiar with your instrument and understand what we call all the bits and what they do on your guitar, then you're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to explain all the different parts on your guitar, what they're called and what they do, so that you understand your instrument a little bit better. So we have two main types of guitars. We have acoustic guitars, which create their own sound, and electric guitars that require an amplifier to make the sound for them. Luckily, the main bits of a guitar are the same, whether it's electric or acoustic. So let's start up at the top and see what's going on here. At the top of the guitar, we have our headstock. This is where you'll find your tuners, or your machine heads, as they can be called. These will change the tuning of each one of your strings, and each string locks into place on the other side of the tuner. From low to high, our strings are called E, A, D, G, B, E. So the string that's furthest away from you when you're playing is actually the first string or the highest string, and then we come down to our second string, the B string, down to our third string, fourth string, fifth string is the A string, and then our low string, our bottom string, or string number 6, is our low E string. All our strings are anchored at the tuner, so when we turn our tuner, it can make them tighter or slacker depending on whether we need to be higher or lower. Coming down from the headstock, we have this little bit of bone or plastic which is called the nut. The nut lifts the strings so that they don't rattle against our fret wires, which is what we're getting to next. This is my fretboard. It comes all the way down the guitar, and it's where I'm going to be placing my hand in order to change the notes. On my fretboard, I have wires, which are called the Fretwires, and in between the wires is the actual fret itself. We place our fingers in the middle of the fret to change a note. It's actually the connection between the fret wire and the string, not your finger, that changes the note. That means that the note is always the same. Doesn't matter where you place your finger within a fret, it will always be the same note. Round the back of my guitar is the actual neck of the guitar. That's this black bit here, and the white bit is the fretboard, which is stuck onto the front of the neck. At the bottom of the neck, where it meets the body, is the heel of the neck, which is this bit here. This is the heel, so the neck is the brown bit here on my acoustic guitar, and the black is the fretboard. The neck comes down to the heel, which joins the neck to the body. Some guitars have a bolt-on neck. This will be a plate with some bolts, maybe 2 or 4 bolts, going through the body into the neck of the guitar to connect the neck with the guitar. Bolt-on necks are great because if you accidentally drop the guitar and snap the neck off, yeah, it happens sometimes, then you can just take the bolts out, take the neck off, and put a new neck on. This isn't as easy, that isn't possible with a guitar that has a through neck, which is actually built into the body of the guitar. With a guitar that has the neck built into the body, it's a much more serious problem if you break that neck. At the bottom of the neck, we find the body of the guitar. Now, on an acoustic guitar, this is what actually creates the sound. The strings will vibrate, and the vibrations will reverberate around inside the body of the guitar and then amplify it through the sound hole, which is this hole in the front of our acoustic guitar. Some acoustic guitars have F-holes, similar to a violin or a cello, but they all do the same thing. The hole is what lets the sound out, and the body is what amplifies the vibrations. Electric guitars don't have a hollow body, they don't have a sound hole. Instead, they use pickups, which are these things here, to pick up the vibrations and convert them into sound by using the amplifier. There are two main types of pickups that we have: the single coil, which is just a single pickup like this, and the humbucker, which is a bigger pickup that looks a little bit like this. They both do pretty much the same job, and depending on which guitar you have, it might have a single coil, it might have a humbucker. They sound a bit different, but we won't get into that today. On an electric guitar, you'll also find a pickup selector, which will be a toggle switch like this, which will change between the pickups that you have. So for this guitar in the up position, it uses just the neck pickup, which is the one here, and in the down position, it would use this bottom pickup, which is called the bridge pickup. On your electric guitar, you'll also find some knobs, which are called your volume and tone knobs. Depending on the setup of your guitar, you might have 1 volume and 2 tones, you might have 2 volumes and 1 tone. This guitar has 2 volumes and 2 tones, 1 volume and 1 tone for each one of the pickups. Simply, the volume knob makes it louder, and the tone knob will make it more trebly or bassy, depending on the sound you want to get from your guitar. One other thing that you'll find on your electric guitar is the jack output here. This is for you to plug in your jack lead or your guitar lead to send the signal across to your amplifier. Some acoustic guitars also have a jack output. These are electroacoustic guitars. So this guitar has a pickup inside the actual body, so I can use it when playing live. I can plug it into the sound system to amplify it through the speakers, and it does have a volume and tone selector on the side of the body as well. Just below the Soundhole or the pickups, you will have your Pickguard or your Scratchplate. This is there to take the scratches from your guitar pick when you're playing so that you don't scratch up the body of your guitar too badly. One other thing just to take notice of on the body of the guitar is this bit here. This is called the Cutaway, and it's there so that you can get to the higher frets of your fretboard without having to reach over the body of the guitar. Some guitars don't have a cutaway, so to get to the higher frets on your fretboard, you have to come around the body in a little bit of an awkward way. So if you're a lead guitarist, or if you're wanting to play big shredding solos high up on your fretboard, maybe have a look for a guitar that has a cutaway to make it easier for you to get up to these higher frets. One of the most important parts of your guitar is this bit down at the bottom. This is the bridge. Now the bridge is there to lift the strings or lower the strings, depending on how high you want the strings to be, to stop them from rattling against the fret wires in a similar way to the nut. It's kind of like the bottom nut on your guitar. On an acoustic guitar like this, we have a few different bits. This is the bridge, is the actual piece of wood here. And the bridge pins are these black bits which go through the body of the guitar to hold my strings in place. This little bit of plastic or bone here is called the saddle. The saddle lifts the strings up, and it can be adjusted depending on the height that you want to have your strings. Most acoustic guitars have a bridge plate with a saddle which can be adjusted, but electric guitars have a few different types of bridges. They mainly fall into 2 categories. We have the fixed bridge or the tremolo bridge. A fixed bridge doesn't move, that's why it's called a fixed bridge, and a tremolo bridge is one of those ones that you can bend the sound with a tremolo arm, and we'll have a look at a couple of bridges on these guitars here. So probably the most basic type of electric guitar bridge is the Telecaster bridge. On a Telecaster bridge, we have a big bridge plate, and these are our saddles which can be adjusted along here with an Allen key. The strings are held in the back of the guitar, and they thread through the top of the bridge before getting strung up to the tuners at the headstock. Some Telecaster bridges will only have 3 saddles, housing 2 strings each. Some, like this one, will have 6 saddles, 1 for each of your strings. These bridges are fixed. They will not move once they've been set up, so they're really reliable. They'll hold your guitar in tune nicely, but you're only really going to find them on Telecaster type guitars like this one. Another type of fixed bridge would be one of these. This is a Tune-o-matic bridge, which is split into 2 sections. We have the tailpiece down here and the saddle here. The tailpiece is just to hold the strings in place, and the saddle lifts the strings up, and this can be adjusted again depending on the height that you want. Great thing with the Tune-o-matic ones is they can be adjusted with just a turn of the screw rather than having to adjust each saddle individually. Now you can adjust each saddle individually if you'd like to, but the whole thing can be lifted up or down as a unit, which means that you can get the action exactly where you want it. Again, this is a fixed bridge. It will not change once it's been set. Similar to the Tune-o-matic would be the Wraparound bridge. This is the most basic type of guitar bridge that there is. The strings thread through one side and wrap around the bridge to lift them rather than having the bridge split into 2 sections. Wraparound bridges can be quite hard to adjust as we haven't got individual saddles for each string, but it's not impossible to give them a play around to get them to where you want them. The last type of common fixed bridge that I'm going to talk about now would be the hardtail. Now, this isn't actually a full hardtail because it does have a tremolo in it, but a hardtail wouldn't have this hole in it. It's just 6 saddles sat together. You often find them on Stratocaster type guitars like this one. And again, we're going to thread the strings through the back of the guitar and through the top of the bridge and over the saddle. Now, this type of bridge is actually the first one of the tremolo bridges that we're going to be talking about. This is called the Fender Tremolo bridge, and it's pretty much exclusive to Fender guitars or guitars that are based on a Fender guitar. This is a Fender Stratocaster guitar. We have a tremolo arm which will fit into the hole at the bridge, which we can screw down to be able to move the strings up and down with the tremolo arm. And that's what tremolo bridges do. They can move the strings up and down by using the tremolo arm. This is a bit of a special bridge that I have here, and you can see the tremolo has a big spring which when I push down, it lets the strings slacken, so we get that sound. There are two other main types of tremolo bridges that we have. We have the Floyd Rose, which will have locking tuners up at the nut to help keep the guitar perfectly in tune when using the tremolo. It also has fine tuners down at the bridge, so you can change the tuning very, very slightly. It's really precise bridge. And there's also the Bigsby bridge. This is a bit like a Bigsby bridge where I have my tremolo at the bottom and my saddle here for the strings. Each one of these can be adjusted again individually, and I have a big tremolo arm which is always on the guitar and will lift the back up and down to change the sound. And as I pull down the lever, the spring which is connected to the strings here will bend up and down to create that shimmery tremolo sound. And those are the parts of the guitar. Depending on what guitar you might have some of them, you might have all of them. It doesn't really matter. All guitars do the same job, and that is to be the coolest instrument that there is. I hope this video has helped you understand the anatomy of your guitar slightly better, and hopefully that'll help you with your playing. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments, and if this video has been useful for you, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and click that subscribe button down below, and I will see you for another lesson very soon.